I had an emergency overnight artwork delivery to ship. I needed to leave by 5 p.m., but Rachel was adamant we had to wait for the artist to come. I really shouldn't have left the two of them alone in the gallery, but they were respectable clients. Anyway, Rachel refused to leave. She said she was staying put just in case. I believe her words were, "Irresponsible ass of an artist does me the supreme favor of showing up." So that's how I came to leave the two of them here, and I had intended to be back before we closed at 6. As it was 6:10 before I returned, and found the door wide open, and Rachel in this terrible posture. As for her fiancé, he was nowhere to be seen. This is the most ghastly thing that has ever happened at the Nathan Ackerman Fine Art Studio. What kind of mad beast are we dealing with here? Patrick Milton. Many of the works in this showroom are in fact his. He is not a critical darling, considered by some too commercial, but the public loves him, and as long as they do, so do I. Ah, that was the spark that lit the fuse of the argument between Rachel and Mark. The artist had vowed to be here with the finished painting and sculpture first thing this morning, but he didn't show up at all. Not the first time, and Rachel flew into a rage when he did not appear. Heavens, our association goes back years, almost a decade. Quite frankly, he's the star here. I've displayed and sold hundreds of his works. I could have sold more, but he misses so many deadlines. No matter how hard I tried to breed professionalism into his artist's soul, I failed. Still, he does sell. Ridiculous as it might seem, no. I have never once, in all the years of our very successful association, even seen his studio. As I say, he's quirky, private to the point of reclusiveness. Oh, but of course I have a phone number and a P.O. box. He wants his checks, after all.
That'll be enough to track him. Thanks, Mr. Ackerman.
Her fiancé is one Mark Stock, a taciturn fellow with a physique worthy of a Greek sculpture and just about as talkative. Frankly, he has the personality of a doorstop and the artistic taste of a hillbilly. Forgive my candor. The man does have his admirers. He's an ex-baseball player of some kind, from the minor leagues, I believe. As I said, he was here with Rachel when I left, but when I returned, she was alone, undead. Yes, they were having an argument about the art, which was unusual as Mr. Stock had never expressed an opinion from the beginning. Now he was making a stand. He said it was foolish to make such a fuss, and the wedding could easily go on without these silly pieces. But Rachel wasn't having any of that. In Mr. Stock's words, he can sound rather shrill for such a strapping specimen of masculinity. He said Rachel had become unreasonable and out of control over the artist not showing up. And, well, honestly, he had a point. She did have that side to her. Understand, I was very fond of Rachel, but frankly, some of the invective she hurled was directed not just at her fiancé, but, if you can imagine, at me. Fortunately, a truce between the betrothed had come to pass before I had to leave. They were even, shall we say, affectionate. I felt comfortable enough leaving them alone. The storm had blown over, and they were like lovebirds again. To me, Mark Stock would be an enigma if he had a higher IQ. During their tiff, he seemed cold, emotionless. He's one of those passive-aggressive types who occasionally erupt, but in a strange, distant way, unleashing a torrent of abusive language, but delivering that invective in a controlled, cruel manner, seemingly devoid of any feeling. They visit Vegas frequently, weekend getaways, on which they invariably stop by my gallery to do business. Rachel did so love art. What was the question? No, I have no address. They flew in for their wedding, and I have no idea at which hotel, though it will certainly be one of the pricier ones. Oh, I can tell you it's a disaster. That's one of our most valuable pieces. Hawks are a specialty of Mr. Milton's, and that's a signature work. Any Milton collector would kill to... excuse me, that was an unfortunate burst of hyperbole, but I can say with no exaggeration at all that the Perch Predator is an expensive item indeed, and I'll be calling my insurance agent as soon as we're done here.
Do you have a photo of that missing statue?
Standard operating procedure in the art game. I'll be glad to get it for you, though I'd appreciate its eventual return. Insurance, you know. Be my guest. My fingerprints are all over this gallery, both literally and figuratively. As I said, I intend to cooperate fully. My life is an open book. No, I'm sorry, no.
What happened to full cooperation? Your life an open book?
My life is an open book, that I pledge to you. But I can't allow this door to be opened. I may seem inconsistent, but there are many expensive, even priceless objects dark back there, and I cannot risk damage. Particularly when I see no relevance to your investigation, since it's been locked throughout this entire unfortunate affair. I'm sorry, unless you have a warrant, I just can't allow you to go flinging your fingerprint powder around and spritzing your various sprays. I'm sorry, unless you have a warrant, I just can't allow you to go flinging your fingerprint powder around and spritzing your various sprays.
That's no human hair. It's too thick. Some kind of animal, maybe. The prints on the pedestal are Ackerman's. It's no surprise. It's his gallery. Of course, he's still a suspect. Why don't you try the DNA analyzer? Wall spatter matches the Vic's blood. It's a start. Links her to the crime scene.
Sure, I'll send a team right out. Blunt force trauma, back of the head. Wound's interesting, an irregular shape, somewhat triangular. It's the murder weapon's signature. Here's something you might find interesting. A small piece of foreign fibrous material. Definitely not skull. The fragment I found appears similar in color to the photograph, so the bird's bill might be consistent with the wound. But without the real thing, it's just a guess. Well, based on the victim's liver temperature, dead less than 2 hours, Under ideal conditions, the body cools 2 degrees the first hour, then 1 degree after that, so we can put it around 5:30 p.m. Way ahead of you, taking fingerprints off a victim's body is part of my routine. Here you are. Toxicology tests show high concentrations of diazepam, a benzodiazepine commonly prescribed for anxiety disorders. Well, it's not entirely unusual, but your prospective bride already had a honeymoon, semen in the vaginal canal, no forced entry, presumably consensual sex. I've got a sample for you. Of course, glad to have your perspective.